Good afternoon on your Friday. I'm forecaster Andrew Fleck for Analyst Weathercast and the Analyst Weathercast Tropical Unit team. Just giving you a weekly video update, and we feel that doing these weekly video updates will keep you guys more updated on any pattern changes or storm potential chances. This also makes you guys safe, especially living across those islands or the U.S. coastlines. This is also very important because we always have the weather changing, and we have seen that, and that has happened this midweek, and I'm going to explain that on this video. But first off, if you did not see our Atlantic hurricane season forecast for 2011, we do have it here on this image where we're calling for 16 tropical storms this year, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes. Comparing that to the average season, we're definitely calling for an above average hurricane Atlantic basin year, and comparing that to the 2010 season, we're calling for just under, and there is a reason behind that. So let me just bring up first the SST map for the month of March, and SST stands for sea surface temperatures. This helps to identify where the best warming is occurring over the Pacific or the Atlantic basin. Also helps pinpoint the current climatic patterns of El Nino and La Nina. And during the winter year this past year, and during, of course, the early spring, most of the pattern was in a La Nina. And what a La Nina does is it has colder waters right in here. It's a good indication. And while the colder waters are in here, there's warmer waters developing. Okay, and they most likely start around the central or southern Atlantic basin. And if the La Nina does continue on its consistent pattern through the months leading up to hurricane season, this can begin to push into the Caribbean, the Gulf, and the southeast coast. But this past week, something has changed, and as the newsletter stated that I had output on May 17th, we called for a La Nina, but an El Nino, and a weak El Nino has just begun to take shape or change this pattern. This I don't think is going to be significant, but it sure does change up the way we have been looking at things for the past week or so. And we'll show you exactly why we say a El Nino is now taking shape, and a weak one only being that we have some warmer waters beginning to develop in the same area. You're not seeing that blue like March of this year was showing. Now, this being May 19th, the latest image, again, those warmer waters are beginning. Does not go to say that there's not really, any warmer waters decreasing, but maybe slowing down across this central Atlantic and into the Caribbean and Gulf, which could very well not make the season temperatures like 2010 as warm as they were, but maybe decrease that a degree or two, and that can be very, very significant to our season. So that's something we're going to need to watch here. Do I think we're going to need to tweak the 2011 numbers? Not at all, but I think it's very interesting how the forecasts have changed regarding this, and how the temperatures are probably going to change as well. Again, a degree or two, it can sometimes be significant, other times not so much, but very interesting how we were in a La Nina for most of winter into early spring, and now an El Nino tries to creep up behind and take away from that. Again, I don't think it's going to be a major deal, but we're going to need to definitely keep our eyes open on that. Could mean less storms for the Atlantic potentially, or this El Nino here could go back into a La Nina and warm up the water temperatures toward the second half of tropical season, which would be August to October. So we're going to definitely need to play our cards right and to make sure we get it right. Now, if we want to go closer to the Atlantic water temperatures here to explain a further on or closer view, you'll see that, again, the warmest waters are coming off Africa here, and they're staying generally very south. Okay, really in the Gulf, the Caribbean, and the south central Atlantic here. And as every tropical season in the Atlantic goes, that's where the warmest waters start, and that's where the storms begin. And that is where we believe is going to be the big and crucial time coming after June 1st, where that tropical season is going to start getting heated up, storms are going to start forming off Africa. They're going to move in that axis. I wouldn't even be surprised if you get a few storms developing, in the Caribbean here, where it does seem like water temperatures are far above normal. So last but not least, I'm going to show you guys the pattern here for the Atlantic Basin, and we'll definitely show you that you have two high pressures up here, one here, one here. High pressures have a clockwise axis, so you're taking that airflow in this general direction. So if you ever get any waves coming off the Atlantic here, or the African coast here, or developing across the Caribbean, they're not going to be able to surge north. They're going to have to surge south and be directed if they develop into anything across the Caribbean and Gulf. So that, as we had in our newsletter, is going to be the area to watch coming into the early half of the tropical season, and that's going to be for June and July. Of course, as we get into the second half, then August up into October, that's when the potential for the southeast coast and east coast to worry a little bit, because those high pressures will fluctuate from time to time. So we're all going to need to really keep our head up here. An El Nino going to a La Nina, vice versa, I don't think is going to make a big significant change. But if anything begins to intensify, such as if the El Nino goes to maybe a moderate, that could take away from the Atlantic hurricane season at a big number. But if it does stay at weak or go back to La Nina, our forecasted numbers look pretty much right, and that's what I do myself expect up to this point. So I hope you guys understood a little bit of what we're talking about here. This video was mostly to talk about that, of course, through winter and spring season, we really had a La Nina. La Nina helps warm up the Atlantic waters much quicker, and that's what's happened. But now coming into this end of May, and El Nino is trying to take shape, and that could not prevent any warmer waters developing across the Atlantic, but it might decrease, the pace of it. But I think really our numbers here at Analyst Weathercast are on board, and I think we're going to do a good job this season. We have a great team, consistent team, and really excited to be working with you guys and interacting with you guys. So I'm Analyst Weathercast forecaster Andrew Fleck. Have a good rest of your weekend, and we look forward to talking to you next time.